Hello everybody. Today I can determine if triangles are similar using SSS, SAS, and AA. Here is what each of them means so you can understand what they are. SSS, three pairs of corresponding sides are in proportion. In similar triangles, the corresponding sides are in proportion and the corresponding angles are congruent. So all the S's means that sides are in corresponding sides are in proportion, and all the A's mean that corresponding angles are congruent. So SAS is two pairs of corresponding sides are in proportion, and the angles between them are congruent. And we talked about like SAS and proofs, how the angle must be in between the two sides. That same thing holds true here. And finally, AA, two pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. So those are the three methods for proving triangles are similar. SSS, three pairs of corresponding sides are in proportion. SAS, two pairs of corresponding sides are in proportion, and the angles between them are congruent. And AA, two pairs of corresponding angles are congruent. Again, all the S's mean corresponding sides are in proportion, and all the A's mean corresponding angles are congruent. So let's get into a few examples, determine whether the following triangles are similar. Well, based on the information they gave me, the only possible method could be SSS. Three pairs of corresponding sides are in proportion because they're not giving me anything with angles. So, to determine whether or not it is SSS, I need to determine if the sides are in proportion. To do that, I put the corresponding sides on top of each other. 2 over 4, 3 over 6, 4 over 8. Now I reduce each of those. You can use a calculator to reduce it if you need to. So 2 over 4, alpha x will reduce the fraction for you, is 1/2. 3 over 6, it'll reduce the fraction for you, is 1/2. 4 over 8, it'll reduce the fraction for you, is 1/2. They all reduce to 1/2. Therefore, they're in proportion. Since three pairs of sides are in proportion, yes, the triangles are similar. The short reason is because SSS. The long reason, I'm not going to write it, is what SSS stands for, which is three pairs of corresponding sides are in proportion. Let's take a look at number 3. AR is 15, RF is 12, DO is 10, OG is 8, angle ARF, R is congruent to angle DOG, O. Based on the information that they gave me, the only possible method could be side angle side, because I have two pairs of sides and I have the angles in between them. However, just because I have sides labeled doesn't make them in proportion. I have to determine if they're in proportion by putting the corresponding sides on top of each other. So I'm going to put the 15 over the 10. I'm going to put the 12 over the 8. I'm going to let the calculator do the work for me. 15 over 10. 12 over 8. 3 over 2. 3 over 2. They are in proportion since they reduce to the same thing. So are the triangles similar? Yes. The short reason, because SAS. And the long reason is what SAS stands for. Yes, because two pairs of corresponding sides are in proportion and the angles between them are congruent. If the sides were not in proportion, if these did not reduce to the same thing, then no, the triangles would not be similar. So let's take a look at this one. I've got AR is 18, RF is 15, DO is 12, OG is 10, angle RAF is congruent to angle ODG, which is the only method that would potentially work here? And the answer is none of them. Can't be AA because I don't have two pairs of corresponding angles. It can't be SS because I don't have three pairs of corresponding sides labeled. And it's not SAS because the angle that's marked is not the angle that's in between the two sides. Therefore, no. And your explanation could be because it's not AA, SSS, or SAS. If it's not one of those three, then we can't state that the triangles are similar. What other types of questions may you see based on this? I like number 9. So based on the information that they're giving you, the only possible method it could be is SAS, since I have two pairs of sides and the angles between them marked. So I know it can't be choice 3 SSS and it can't be choice 1 AA. So I need to know if the sides are in proportion. You don't have to separate your triangles here. I think you'll be okay. 36 would correspond to 15. 45 would correspond to 18. We reduce the fraction. Let's see if they're in proportion. Alpha x, 36 over 15. Alpha x, 45 over 18. 12 over 5, 5 over 2. Since they don't reduce to the same thing, they are not in proportion. And since they are not in proportion, the triangles are not similar. So if the sides are in proportion, whether it be 3 pairs of sides or 2 pairs of sides and the angle between them, then they must be similar. If the sides are not in proportion, they're definitely not similar. I like this example as well. I think this reinforces everything. Choice 1, based on what's marked, I have 2 pairs of sides and the angle between them. So the only possible method it could be would be SAS. So I put the corresponding sides on top of each other. 12 would go over 4. And 9 would go over 3. And those both reduce to 3. They're in proportion, they're similar. This one says which cannot be proved similar. Choice 2, I have 2 pairs of angles marked. We haven't seen that yet. That's AA. There's no work to do for that, which is why you're not going to see that much in this lesson. But 2 pairs of angles marked, that's AA. They're similar. Choice 3, there's 2 issues here. First of all, I have 2 pairs of sides. The angle that's marked is not the angle between them. So it's not SAS, it's not SSS, it's not AA. We can't prove those are similar. Also, if I set up a proportion, 16 over 2 equals 32 over 8, this reduces to 8, this reduces to 4. They're not in proportion, and the angle's not in between the two sides. So for both those reasons, that one's out. And choice 3, since the sides are marked congruent, if they're congruent, they're in proportion, a ratio of 1 to 1. So this is very clearly SAS, which works. Which one doesn't? Choice 3. You may need to separate your triangles and go through each choice and see what works. But basically, the concept I think we've made to determine if triangles are similar, there's 3 methods. We have SSS, 3 pairs of sides are in proportion. SAS, 2 pairs of sides are in proportion and the angles between them are congruent. And AA, 2 pairs of angles are congruent. Practice. See ya.